Hello and welcome to Sound Off with System One. I'm your host, Krista Kornchuk, and I'm here today with our recruiting experts to speak with you about your most pressing resume and interview questions in today's live Q&A. Before we get started, here are a few words about System One. System One is a leading provider of specialized, highly technical outsourced services and workforce solutions to critical infrastructure, technology, life science, and government sectors, putting more than 650 employees and 9,000 contractors to work in the United States, Canada, and the UK. As you're tuning in today, please join us in the comments. Our marketing team will be monitoring them. Let us know where you're joining from and what industry you work in. And as I said before, this is a live Q&A. So send us all your resume, interview, and job search related questions, and we'll get to answering as many as we can. Next, I'm going to have our panel of experts introduce themselves. They're also going to be sharing their hot jobs, which you can view by scanning the QR code or by visiting jobs.system1.com. Colleen, we'll start with you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Colleen Losowitz, recruiting manager of Jolay's National Accounts team, and I'm based out of Edison, New Jersey. Today, I'd like to highlight an exciting opportunity we have with one of our leading biotech clients in Novato, California. This is a contract manufacturing associate position and will be part of their gene therapy manufacturing team. So they're looking for candidates who have a minimum of a high school diploma, but a completed associate's or bachelor's degree is highly preferred. A minimum of 2 years of experience working in a manufacturing environment, and then experience with manufacturing processes like cell culture, filtration, chromatography, protein purification, things of that nature. So they have multiple shifts available with shift differentials, and they're looking to have candidates interview and start as soon as possible. So if you're interested in learning more, connect with me on LinkedIn.
Hi, you all. My name is Molly. I am a senior recruiter. I work for Tech USA. I work in the construction sector, and I'm based out of Atlanta, Georgia. One of the hot jobs that we have going on right now is a general foreman role. That would be a traveling position. So on the electrical side, it would be for an industrial electrical contractor. This is basically a go-to-work situation where if you have the right skill set, we would set you up on a Teams meeting, and then we would get you out to Wilmington, North Carolina, which would be where your first project is on a data center. So if you are interested in this opportunity, connect with me on LinkedIn. I would love to chat with you more about the opportunity. Yeah, that's it.
Hey, I'm Savanna Mansfield, and I am the engineering and trade skills recruiter here in the Tampa office for System One. My hot job today is going to be an electrical engineer in Tampa, and this position is going to really be responsible for reworking and testing electrical designs for flight simulators. This could be hardware integration, software interfacing through C and C++ programming. And I'm really looking for about 3 to 4 years of experience in someone ideally with a hardware or electrical engineering degree. So, of course, connect with me or message me on LinkedIn if you want to discuss further.
Perfect. And you can connect with our recruiters. Just look at the chat and there's a link to their LinkedIn. Make sure you connect if you're interested in these roles. And again, you can scan the QR code if you're interested in other System One jobs. Next, I'm going to have our candidates share a job seeker tip that their candidates, I'm going to have our recruiters share a job seeker tip that their candidates have been benefiting from. While they share that, I'd love to have those questions in. Again, this is a live Q&A, so make sure you send in any pressing job search related questions. Colleen, we'll start with you.
Yeah, so one thing I get questions on frequently, or comments on, I should say, is, that candidates have applied to 10, 20 plus positions and only heard back about 2 or didn't hear back at all. I wanted to, give some advice on that. So my advice for that is that one of the main reasons candidates experience not being called back is because of a mismatch between their experience and the role requirements. So as recruiters, we see 50 plus resumes on each job we're working, and that's a lot to cipher through. So we're going to respond to those who match the job description and what our clients have communicated to us, whoever matches that the closest. So when applying for roles, it's important to align your experience with the job requirements. Being realistic about your qualifications will only help you target positions where you can genuinely stand out. And then that reduces the chances of being overlooked or ghosted in the process.
Nice. Yeah, one of my biggest tips to any of the contractors or candidates that I work with is always have your resume ready and available with your most updated experience on it. In the field that we work in, I work really heavily in the construction sector. So projects are ending and starting up all the time. And a lot of the skilled tradesmen that I work with are bouncing from project to project. So if we're trying to get you on with a new client or someone that is existing, but they have a need and you're ending a project with one of our other clients, it's super important to always keep your resume updated so we're able to move you along quickly to the next project.
And my tip kind of feeds into both of the other ladies' tips. If there are specific companies that you really, really want to target or you really want to work for, take that resume that you're using and tweak it with the wording and key skills that are provided in the job description that the company is giving you. Of course, as it relates to your own skills and background that you've already received from prior experience at positions. So that's going to really help you stand out comparatively to just posting your resume to any job and just praying you get a call back.
Those are great tips. And thank you. We have some questions coming in. I am sifting through them now. One question we had is from Lauren. She wants to know why she's getting rejected for roles that she's qualified or overqualified for. I think a lot of people are facing that. So, what might some reasons be?
Yeah, I could start with that. So if you're overqualified for a job, typically either whoever you're applying for has a set budget for that role. And if you're overqualified and you're looking to get paid for, obviously your experience, you're probably not in their range. And so it would probably be, they would look at it as almost maybe a waste of time to even entertain it if you're looking for something that's way out of the price range that they're looking to fill the role for.
Yeah, I would also piggyback off of that, especially for like a contract position. If you may be overqualified for that contract role, hiring managers have a fear that you're going to get bored and you'll be moving on quickly. So then, they've now invested time in training you and, making sure that you're a fit on the team and they could be interested in bringing you on in a permanent capacity. But because you're overqualified and, this may not be living up to your expectations, you might be moving on to something that is more in line. So there's always that fear with hiring managers as well.
Perfect. And we have another question coming in. Do we need to tailor our resume for every position we apply for?
I would say it definitely does help, but you don't want to have like 20 different resumes, right? So I would say if you're looking at a specific job and it asks for, 5 hard requirements, and you have 3 of those listed on your resume, but you also have the other 2, you should definitely put that on your resume because there's a lot of times that we talk to candidates and after speaking with them, we find out that they actually have all 5 requirements, but only a couple of them are listed on the resume. So I would say take the time to really look through the job that you're applying to and make sure that whatever you actually have skills with is listed out because that is the first thing the hiring manager is going to look at.
And to piggyback off of that, I am a firm believer of quality over quantity. You're going to have a higher response rate if you are really intentional about what you're applying for. We can all sit here and apply to 100 jobs, but do you really want to work at all 100 of those companies? So I would just be intentional of where you're trying to target and tailor for those that you really, really want.
Yeah, I agree with what both of you all said.
Well said and great question. Another question from the same person, is it best to put negotiable when the application says what is your pay range, or should you actually put the number and be transparent? That's a good question.
I believe that you should be transparent. I think that being transparent is going to get you way farther than being negotiable. And I feel like it saves everyone a lot of time, right? You don't want to waste you don't want your time wasted if the pay is not going to be, or if they're not going to be able to match your pay, right? So I think that it's really important that you always put exactly what you're looking for. And then if you're looking for that, but you could also put, but I'm negotiable. I think that's a really, I think that would be a good idea as well.
I think this also depends on really like what you're looking for. If you are negotiable, you can put your negotiable, because sometimes the other intangibles like experience or the benefits or the culture aren't something that's reflected in a dollar amount that's an hourly rate. So if you need something to survive on, of course, put that, so you're not wasting your time interviewing for a position that's, you know, $10 under what you need. But if you are negotiable and you're looking for specific experience, I think you could put negotiable as well.
And be upfront with your recruiter when you're talking to them, because some people, you know, who have been in management for a while want to take a step back now and focus more on maybe like work-life balance. So if that's something that you're definitely open to, and again, to Savannah's point, negotiable on, you know, you want to be upfront with your recruiter so that they can advocate for you as well when negotiating salary and things like that with hiring managers.
Absolutely. And we do have some content on negotiating. We've done a Sound Off with System 1 episode on negotiating your salary. So make sure you check out past episodes on YouTube. And we've done articles on LinkedIn about it as well. Our next question: how do you address a large gap in your resume due to health-related issues, but during that time you've completed a degree? Oh, sorry about that. We're going to put that back up. But during that time, you've completed a degree, certs, and you've been training to upskill. It's a good question.
And that's a great question. I get that all the time. So I think first and foremost, I think people sometimes have gaps on their resumes when they either have had health-related issues or layoffs or anything like that, and then maybe acquired a position that was outside of the industry. I think you should still put your other position on your resume because it does show that continuity in work history. But when addressing things like a large gap due to a health-related issue, again, I think being upfront is going to be the best practice. So being upfront and saying, you know, yeah, I did have a specific health-related issue, but in that time, I was able to complete my degree online, or I was able to get all of these certifications on LinkedIn or wherever else. Because that shows the hiring manager that you weren't just, you know, not doing anything to further your education, further your career knowledge. You were doing things in that time frame.
I think you could also almost reorganize your resume as well. If you're having that large gap, maybe put your degree and certifications at the top. So that shows that, hey, maybe I haven't been relevant in the workforce, but look at this new certification, look at this new degree that I have. So it's top of mind as they go down and they're like, oh, maybe they were focusing on school. That's why they're missing this, you know, however many years on the resume.
Perfect. And we have another question coming in from John. How can qualified candidates get past AI screening of resumes? Good question.
I can start. I think that goes back to the keyword integration. AI is looking for keywords on your resume as it relates to the job description. So if you have more words that are similar to what the job description is asking for, then you're going to rate higher on the search. But if you are missing, like we talked about earlier, maybe you have all 5 skills, but you've only listed out 3 and the job description's asking for 5, you might not rate as high.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people like to put, you know, their skills in a skills section of their resume, which is fine. But I think also listing out on your resume how you've actually used those skills helps with that keyword integration. So it pops up on your resume a few more times. But I think just relying on a skills section doesn't show a hiring manager exactly what you're capable of. So if you kind of spell it out for them in the bullet points under your job title, that will help with that too.
Perfect. We have a long question from Elizabeth, so I'm going to shorten it a little bit. But do recruiters actually want follow-up emails on applications? I know hundreds, if not thousands, of people have applied for each listing. Good question.
Yeah, I believe absolutely recruiters want follow-up emails or follow-up calls even, especially if you've been interacting with them already. I think it's really important to keep an open line of communication whether or not the client wants to end up moving forward with the candidate or they end up saying no for XYZ reasons. I think it's also really important for the recruiter to be really open and transparent with any of the candidates that they're working with. So if they're wanting to move forward, typically clients, they're going to be like, let's schedule an interview or let's get them out to work. Or they're going to say, no, we're not interested in this candidate because of X, Y, and Z. And I think it's really important to be transparent with your candidates either way. So I think it's super important as well that candidates are following up and checking in with their recruiter.
I think to piggyback off of that, remember it's a professional relationship. Us recruiters, we get new opportunities all the time. If you're keeping up to date with me, if you're calling saying, hey, Savanna, I really need a job. Do you have anything new? You're going to be the first person top of mind for me to think about when that new role comes in. I'm going to be like, wow, Elizabeth was perfect for this role. I'm so glad I already talked to her. She's going on the top of my pile now because we already have an existing relationship.
Great questions. And suppose your specialized skills are over 10 to 20 years old. Should you still apply? Some companies don't seem to realize that some of these skills have not changed much beyond AI. Good question.
I think that's a really good question because I think with technology ever changing, I mean, I know some hiring managers are very specific in what they're looking for, but I think if it's, like a lab technique or instrument that maybe you've used for the past 10, 20 years, those might not change as much as maybe technology. So I think those you should definitely list out. Or if you've used a version of something that's on the job description in the past that could be transferable, I definitely think to add that on your resume will be key.
Perfect. We have a question from Alok. He wants to know how many pages should 15 plus years of work experience be? Good question.
Probably I still believe that resumes shouldn't be super long because if we're being honest, whenever us recruiters are looking at resumes, we're not going to sit there whenever we have 50 resumes to go over, we're not going to sit there and read a 10-page long resume. I think 4 or 5 bullet points for each job title is perfect. And also, I think it's really appropriate, honestly, just to list your last 10 years of experience. If you want to list 15 plus years of experience, that's fine. But also keep in mind, a lot of employers are not going to be looking past your last 10 years of experience.
I would say if we have to put a number to it, I would not ever be over 3 pages. And to the other point, once you get past that 10 years, you can I do a separate category called additional experience and just put the title, where it was, location, and how many years you were there. And then of course a hiring manager or recruiter can go on that resume and inquire further. You don't even have to do bullet points on those. We can just have that in an organic conversation later.
Definitely. The recruiter is your advocate. So is the about section in a resume redundant? Good question.
I think it is, just because when we're sending your resume out to a client, we're giving them a recap of your experience based off of our conversation. Now we can use part of your about section in our recap just because, if you've got some really good information in there, we'll never disclose that. I mean, we won't not disclose that to them. But I think it can be redundant. And if we're talking about, condensing your resume down, it's just a space filler. So I would rather you put what you've had experience with, what your skill set is versus an about section.
Yeah, whenever I send any of my candidates over to our clients, I typically take out the about section. I send work experience and then I send up a write-up, which is like a summary of my candidate's experience over to the client because it makes it much easier for them to just scan and read and see if they would be interested.
And I have a question, Molly. Is that a write-up that you're creating?
Yeah.
Okay.
So write-up, it's just like a summary of someone's experience. I mean, like I think Colleen had mentioned earlier, literally we pull typically some bullet points off of someone's resume and copy and paste almost to the email that we sent. Like it's basically we attach the resume and then copy and paste like a summary of the candidate and like where they're located, and then just like some bullet points of their most important experience that's relevant to the job that we're submitting them for.
Good to know. And let's talk about resume formats. Is Canva a viable resume builder when it comes to ATS systems? So a lot of times Canvas are on Word, sometimes they're PDF. I'd love to know what you guys think about that.
I mean, I think there's a number of different technologies out there that can help with resume building. But I think honestly, if you have a Word document and you want a recruiter to review it, I think that that's probably your best bet, because we can help build your resume and we can help make tweaks where, you can get some more traction. So, we're always open to connecting and just looking over your resume and offering tips and tricks where we can.
I also think if it's going to depend, of course, on what template you're using. If you're using a template where it's putting your messages in like a box and you can't like highlight it, that's going to be a problem for an ATS system, because it's scanning your resume and now you can't see the verbiage that's on your resume. So you're not going to score very well. So if you're going to use Canva, use something where it's a simple layout. It's not blocking your resumes in boxes, because that's where you're going to run into problems with ATS systems.
Mm-hmm.
Good old-fashioned Word. And something that I did as a marketing person who likes visuals, I had a Word document application, and then I had a very pretty Canva PDF application that I could bring in person. So I think when it comes to ATS, something simple is the best. What are the most common mistakes candidates make during the job application process, and how can we avoid them? Good question, Martin.
I think it kind of goes back to my tip from before. Just with the job application process, I think just keeping it simple and streamlined to what you're capable of. I mean, I'll have quality positions posted and that are for pharma manufacturing, and I'll get tons of IT people. So obviously it's not going to be a transferable skill. So we're not going to probably call you for that particular role. I would say that's probably the most common mistake that people make, is just kind of over applying and not being realistic about their skill set.
Yeah, I think that a lot of the most common mistakes I see whenever candidates are applying for jobs, especially on Indeed, is whenever I will list a couple of custom questions for them to answer and they just skip right over it and just attach their resume. That makes me like 75% less uninterested in you, because you didn't take the time to just simply answer the questions that I made.
Perfect. All right. And we have someone asking about behavioral interview questions. So what's a good way to answer, where do you see yourself in 5 years, or what makes you happy?
I think answering what makes you happy is really important. I think being really honest is also really important, because I think a lot of employers are very realistic on, this job specifically isn't going to just make you happy and fulfill you. You should talk about what actually does make you happy and what your goals are. I think employers really like to see people that are goal oriented and have other, I think, things obviously going on in their life, but obviously things that they're working towards, because it shows that you're motivated and it shows that you're a go-getter.
I also feel like there's no right or wrong answer to this question. Anecdotally to myself, when I was applying at System 1, I got this question: where do you see yourself in 5 years? And I had a really hard time with real estate. That was my last job. And I told them, I really don't know. I just really want to be happy and feel like I'm giving back to others and feel a little bit of like fulfillment from my role, as well as, have a good work-life balance. So I was just really honest, but I didn't know where I was going to be or what job was going to be the right fit for me. I just wanted to, do something where I can give back and feel some kind of fulfillment from my role.
I agree with that 100%, especially in this market. It's so tough right now. You don't know where you're going to be in 5 years. So I think just being as open and honest, like to Savanna's point, I think that was a great answer. So I think just being open and honest is key for sure.
Absolutely. A human is interviewing you, so they understand that you're a human as well. But we know behavioral questions can be really difficult. So we have some great content on behavioral interviews and some past Sound Off with System 1 episodes too. So make sure you check those out. For recent graduates or early career professionals, what's the best way to build a strong profile and attract a recruiter's attention? Good question, Martin.
I think if you are a recent grad or you're a recent grad 6 months out of college, again, just using that time to continue to build your skills. And then if you have any co-ops, internships, high level academic projects that you participated in and got hands-on experience with, those should definitely be on your resume, because that'll put you above other candidates for sure.
Perfect. And we have a question from Owen. How will partnering with a recruiter best position me to leverage my resume and expertise to land the best job possible? Great question, Owen.
I think working with a recruiter puts you in a great position because we are directly in contact with the employer, right? Versus if you're going and trying to apply on LinkedIn you can see the tower, it says 100 plus applicants. They're having to go through that and scroll through that, and hopefully you stick out, right? But if you're working with a recruiter that is chatting directly with the employer, that makes your name immediately stick out, and they are going to at least review your resume, see if you really would be a good fit. And I think it puts you in a better position to move quicker into the hiring process where we're able to get an interview set up. And it helps us on our client end, making sure that they're sticking to their guns. And, you said you needed a position, or you needed this position filled in this amount of time. Let's move quickly with this and get this candidate in play if you really like what you see.
I always refer to us as matchmakers. We're kind of in the middle. We get to talk directly to the hiring manager and kind of pick their brain of exactly what they're looking for. And we're also advocating for you. We can have a one-to-one conversation, and not everything you say is getting back to the manager. So we can bounce ideas, and we can leverage the knowledge that I got from the manager to really understand how well you are suited for the position based off of what you're looking for as well.
Yeah, and we might also know about positions that aren't even posted yet. So, we might be in talks with with hiring managers about new positions that they're looking at, or we could skill market your resume to one of our clients and say, hey, I know we were talking about XYZ roles in the next 3 months. This would be a great candidate for those. And that could, help us, speed up the process for you as well.
Absolutely. And do we need to describe the reason why we left the job? Good question.
If you're asked, yes. But if you're not asked, no. I feel like you don't need to just be like, and I left this job because. If your recruiter asks you, or whoever's interviewing you asks you, yes. And make sure you don't say anything that is negative. Make sure to word those answers in a positive light always.
Yeah, the hiring manager doesn't want to hear the long past history of the disgruntlement you had with your coworker or your manager. Keep it short, sweet, and to the point, because they're looking for someone that's going to fit in with their culture and fit in with their team. They don't want to hear about disgruntlements with other managers in the past.
Well said. Move forward. And do you always need to have a cover letter?
No.
I like it. Well, all right. Oh, go ahead, Molly.
I was just, no, you don't. That was the no finger. No.
To be honest, I don't read them.
Yeah, that's long.
Unless it's like an absolute requirement from the hiring manager, otherwise you don't need it.
I find the follow-up email after an interview, thanking the interviewer for their time and expressing your interest in the position goes 1,000% further than a cover letter in the beginning.
1,000,000%. I agree.
Absolutely. Perfect. I am going to take one or two more questions. What is the most correct and diplomatic way to explain why why you do not want your new employer to contact your last place of work.
I would just say like, hey, I'm still working there. I am trying to do a confidential search and I don't want them to find out that I'm actively applying because that could hurt my position if this opportunity doesn't work out with you.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right. I am looking for one more question. I don't know why it's not popping up. I'm having some issues on my end right now, but how do you explain being laid off on your resume? There we go. Sorry about that, everybody.
I think, again, just being upfront and honest. You can't control if the company had budget cuts. You can't control if they laid off 80% of their workforce. You know what I mean? That's not on you. So I think just being upfront that you went through a layoff, and I have to say, I hear that all of the time now. I mean, it's unfortunately a popular trend that's happening right now. And, we're here to help support you in any way that we can. But I think if you're just upfront and honest about being laid off, it's better than trying to hide it.
Yeah, 1,000%. And I feel like that's the better reason to give, like why you left a job or why the job didn't work out, and instead of getting fired. Obviously they probably would have kept you if they didn't have budget cuts. And I think that layoffs are inevitable and it happens all the time. So I think that a lot of hiring managers are understanding of that. So I don't think that you should look at it as it's holding you back. I think that you should just be open and honest about it.
Us recruiters hear it all the time. I probably heard it like 6 times this week. So
Yes.
it's a very, very common thing that happens, unfortunately. And it's, again, like the girls said, it's not a reflection of you specifically. It's just happening on a macroeconomic level.
Absolutely. Those were some really good answers, and I want to thank everyone so much for their questions. We're out of time for today, but don't forget to follow System One on LinkedIn if you're not already, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We have a lot of great past Sound Off with System One episodes. Make sure you tune in to Sound Off with System One every first and third Friday at 2 p.m., and we will see you next time. Have a good one.
Bye.